Hi, this is Richard C. I'm a math tutor at Wyzant, answering a question submitted by a student. This is a classic question from trigonometry slash pre-calculus, and so we're going to go through it. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we'll make it through. Okay, so here we're instructed to use the cosine curve, so that's what we're going to use. We could use a sine curve here, but we're going to use the cosine curve. So I'm going to start with your what you should be memorizing here, the general form of the cosine curve. Y is equal to A times the cosine of B times X minus H plus K. And you should know that absolute A is the amplitude of this curve. 2 pi over absolute B is the period of the curve, which is how long it takes the curve to repeat itself. And then H and K, H is the horizontal shift, K is the vertical shift. And the other thing that you should have memorized is the parent. So the curve for the parent, I always say to students it looks like an urn or a vase of flowers, something like that. And so here's 1, here's -1, and the period is 2 pi. So you can see it takes 2 pi. This is, in our problem, this is going to be time here and the height of the water level. Okay, so basically we just have to kind of start mapping the information in the problem against this standard way of looking at the cosine curve. So let's start doing that. I'm going to change color, go to black. Okay, everything in red. When I put something in red, it means I want you to memorize it. Okay, so from this first instruction, we can see that the period is 12. Right, because it takes 12 hours to do a complete cycle. And we know that the height, average depth is 8. That's our midline. So let's start sketching. So our midline is at y equals 8. So this is telling us that it's k is 8, you see, because we've been shifted the midline. See here, the midline is right along this x-axis. And now the midline has been shifted up 8. So we have h is 8 here. And that's just coming off of the introduction. While we're here with the introduction, we might as well take a look at what b is. So the period here is 12, and that's 2 pi over b. So let's solve for b. So we're going to get 12b equals 2 pi. And so b is going to be pi over 6. You see that? So just using this formula here, because we know the period is 12, we say 12 is equal to 2 pi over b, and solve for b. So we can actually, we have b now, and we have h. Just from that first sentence, we have the, this is k in our formula. See? Okay, determine the equation that models the tides, blah, blah, blah. What is the depth, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's see. We're told that the depth at low tide is 1. So this is our minimum, y equals 1. And then this is a distance of 6, so we're going to go up 6 now. Eight and 6 is 14. So these are what I call railroad tracks. So when I'm graphing a trigonometric curve, I like to start with the railroad tracks. And now we know that this curve is going to end up $12. Let's see. Determine the model. Let's see. Restarting. I'm just wondering if there's a horizontal shift. I don't think so. There's a vertical shift. But a horizontal shift would be h. I have a feeling that h is 0. This h is height. I'm sorry if that's confusing you. This was height, not the horizontal shift. H is the horizontal shift. K is the vertical shift. I'm pretty sure we don't have a horizontal shift, and so therefore I can break this up because our curve is going to start at midnight. So here we go. Okay. And so we could sketch this curve using these radian measures for time. They're using here 2 a.m. So what we might want to do is, instead of using, well, we still have to use pi and 2 pi here to get the curve. So let me just sketch the curve. So you can see it begins at the max here. So it starts here, and then we just divide this up into pi over 2 here, and then 3 pi over 4 here. And you can see from the parent, this would be pi here. So at pi, it's at the minimum here, and at 0, it's at the maximum here, and at pi over 2, it's midway. Then 3 pi over 4 is going to be midway here. It's going to be at the midline, and then 2 pi, it returns to where it started. And so we have our vase or urn, and that's the way it's going to look. So this is 1200 here if we were to put it in time, and then we have to just figure out how to scale this. So this is, let's see, the full cycle takes 12 hours, so this would be 12 o'clock again. So this would be midnight, let's say, and then this would be noon, midnight. Okay, so to figure out 2 a.m., we just have to do some ratios. So I would say 2 over 12 is equal to x over 2 pi here to try to get that ratio proper. So 2 a.m. is going to be here. So 2, because it's a 12-hour cycle, so 12-hour period. So let's simplify. 1 over 6 is going to be x over 2 pi. So 2 pi is going to be equal to 6x. X is going to be pi over 3. Okay, so what's the depth at pi over 3? So the depth would be y equals a. All right, we know that our amplitude now is 6. The amplitude is this distance from here to here, which is 6. Or from here to here, oops. See, 8, the average depth at high tide is, oh, I misread that. That's 8. Excuse me here, I made a mistake. So at high tide, the average depth at high tide is 8. And 1 cycle, okay. 8. 1 cycle takes 12 hours. What's the depth? Okay, I'm just trying to get the amplitude here. I thought the midline was at 8. But low tide is at 1. So this is going to be, the midline is going to be between, it's going to be 4.5 here. Okay, so let's get the equation over here. So what, this is going to be 4.5. Sorry. The amplitude is 3.5. The amplitude is the distance from the midline to the max, or from the midline to the minimum. So that's going to be 3.5. That's our A. Cosine. We found B is pi over 6. X minus H, which is 0. There's no horizontal shift. And then plus 4.5, which is K. Okay, so now we're ready to answer this. What's the depth of the water at 2 a.m.? So we found at 2 a.m. x is pi over 3. So you would just plug that in. So y equals 3.5 cosine pi over 6 times pi over 3 plus 4.5. So I'll leave that for you. So this is part B here. And then how many people dive? Many people dive during the day. The water must be at least 3 meters deep. Let's do a color change here. And we'll put something in here. Y is equal to 3. So we just have to figure out, basically they can dive in this during this time, and they can dive during this time as well. Okay, so we just would take the formula for the curve, switch to the green, stick with the green. So A, our amplitude is 3.5 times the cosine of pi over 6 times x. H is 0, so I'm just going to put an x here, plus 4.5. That's our height at any given time. Time is x here. This thing has to be greater than, that must be at least 3 feet, so greater than or equal to 3. And what you would do is you would just go on your calculator, punch in this, your y, this would be on your calculator, this would be y1 would be here, and then y2 would be 3. And then you would find on the calculator the intersection of these two things, and then you would come up with the answer on the calculator, which I'm not going to take the time to do right now. We're already at 16 minutes here. So I think I better stop there, else I'll get in trouble, and leave it with that. But it was a difficult problem, but not too hard if you just kind of keep your wits around about you, read carefully. I made a reading mistake earlier, and memorize these facts about the cosine curve. Okay, that's it for this problem. Hope that was helpful. See you next time. Bye-bye.